Can you guys hear me? All right, I'm actually a huge Walking Dead fan. I don't know how many. And part of the title, it has a couple of meanings. One is sort of that show, and I have to go over here now because there's feedback there. That show sort of draws you in, right? I need to turn this so I can see. Perfect. It draws you in, and you're addicted to it. Think about how your advocates might be addicted to your products. But the second meaning is, and the word zombie is not meant to be critical or negative on our customers, your customers, but it's that sense, sometimes that feeling of you've got all these things you want them to do for you, right? You want them to create a case study, participate in a call, and they just don't seem to want to do anything. How do you get them to do more what you want? You really have to think, though, maybe you're not asking the right question. So what I'm going to do, and by the way, that's a picture of cute zombies, because I didn't want to offend anybody in the room that had relatives that were actual zombies. I tried to sort of pay attention to that. So what I'm going to do is start with a little bit of background about our company and what we did and why we looked at customer advocacy. So I'm part of HP Software, and in particular part of our IT management group. And one of the product lines that we sell is around IT service management. We've got over 2,000 customers, enterprise customers, all in IT, and many of them are very loyal to us, and we've had them for a long time. But about 2 years ago, we started a customer success management team that I'm a part of, actually, with the sole goal of making those customers happy, our top accounts happy, and we've been very successful at that. We've also had, for a number of years, very traditional reference programs, and what I mean by that is programs where, when you sign a deal with a customer, you get them to be a reference. And often they go in some database and you forget about them. And when it comes time to actually get a reference for some purpose, it's very challenging. I don't know if anyone's faced that, but we face that every day. So we really had three things that we wanted to address with customer advocacy. The first is what I call reference agility. We wanted the ability within, in some cases, minutes to get references. Maybe it's for a call, maybe it's for an analyst. We want it to speed up how quickly we can work with references. The second piece is around product collaboration. So we have things like customer advisory boards. You guys, any of you have CABs that you participate and you know about? And those are good, but often they're not ongoing connections or relationships between customers and product managers. So we wanted to build that collaboration and have it be sustaining, ongoing, a true relationship. The third piece, very important, we wanted to get more customer-driven marketing, not marketing pieces that our marketing department developed, but what our customers could create, because we felt they'd be a lot more valuable to other customers than our own pieces of content. So what we decided is, well, actually what we felt, we had a belief that a customer advocacy program could really help us deliver a true, deep, meaningful connection to our enterprise customers in such a way that it would provide value to us, but more importantly, we felt it could provide value to them. And that really is the key message or theme throughout this talk today. So what I'm going to do is walk through how we got started. We started roughly last April, May. It was a project that we kicked off with Influitive. It actually lasted about 3 weeks from start to kickoff or launch. We chose, as our platform, we chose Influitive. We wanted an online experience. We wanted a gamification-based approach. So that was actually a very easy decision for us to make. And then as part of the approach, we had to start with, what are some of the objectives, the program objectives we want to drive with this advocacy program? And this was an essential step. We wanted to really focus our efforts and say, all right, we want more social media content from our customers. We want a closer connection between product and customers. We sort of picked a set of 5, and we drove all of our work around the launch against those objectives. And then the other key pieces at the bottom here is understanding all the players involved. Who's our audience? Who are the customers we care about? We decided to start small with our core strategic customers that our CSMs are already engaged with, so they already had a relationship. And we also needed to understand internally who the stakeholders were. What were all the groups in HP that had to buy into this approach? Who were the product managers, the marketing department, support, everyone in HP that played a role. They need to understand what that role and what their expectations were. as I go forward. So, in June of 2014 of last year, we launched our hub within Fluitive called HP ITSM Insiders. We actually launched it at the Discover event in Vegas that we have each year. And it was a tremendous success. Even though the actual size of the community was small because we focused it, the learnings we got back from that were just incredible. So just as some examples, I'm not going to read these quotes. You may not be able to see them in the back room, but two things really came out of that. The first, our customers started to learn more about what our offerings were, which sounds almost kind of ridiculous that they didn't know about new innovations, new things we were doing. Through the platform, they were actually getting that more real time, and they could provide feedback to us in a closer connection to HP. But the more surprising result we had from the launch was the connections that they established with others in their industry. And to give you a great example of this, so as I mentioned, every year, actually at this event, we have our customer advisory boards. And typically they're the same sets of folks that participate in the cabs. Well, one of the guys that's also part of Insiders came up after the event and said, you know, I've been sitting next to these same people for the last 2 or 3 years, and I didn't really know them. For this event when we launched it, they came and said to me, we actually had built our relationship online through the platform, and when we got together for the cab, we already felt closer. We had this connection through the experience, and they were able to carry that forward in the physical world. So this notion of I'll call it a blended experience between the online experience, which in our case was through Insiders, and the physical world through events, really worked for our customers, and it's something that we weren't really expecting. So I've got some pictures here that they took, and they all uploaded to the hub just so you can take a look at that. But what I want to do is kind of take you to where we're at today. So we started, as I said, back May, June of last year. We were at about 50, and then 100 at about the time we launched. We're close to 1,000 advocates in less than 9 months. And these are advocates that are engaged and participating in driving a ton of content that we need for our organization. Just amazing. And the great thing too here, this is not just customers. We've got partners involved. Even employees are taking a part in the program that we have. And some of the stats we've got, I won't go through the numbers, but I want to point out some themes. The first is, on the social media side, what we learned here is that the impact that a customer's tweet or blog, whatever, has on the rest of the industry is tenfold, 20-fold what one of us can do on the HP side. And it's much more viral. You know, if we have even 10 of our customers tweeting something and then each of them retweet, it's amazing how fast some of our messaging gets out in a matter of minutes in some cases. The second piece, and this is all driven from the online experience, is the connection that we've been able to build between customers and our product organization. So we try, in many of the activities we do in our hub, to have surveys, questions, and so forth, and we build in that experience a way for our product management team to get involved, to provide feedback, to talk to these customers. And the end result, even if we don't implement the majority of things that our customers are asking for, our customers value that connection. They see you're listening to us, and even if we do 1 or 2 things that they want, not 100 of them, it's huge for them. That value is there, and that's why they keep coming back to the hub, is because of that connection of products. Last point I'll mention on here is on the reference side. This has also been a huge success if it's related to getting a reference recruit or having someone speak to an analyst. Just as one example, and it's recent, we participate in the annual Gartner Magic Quadrant. Some of you might be in MQs as well. And in those MQs, you always have to give customers to Gartner to have them interview and call them. In the past, this has been, I'll say, somewhat of a painful experience where we're working to get the right people, to pre-interview them, to screen them. With our Advocate Hub, we were able to get, where before it was challenging just to get 5 of them through the process in the time, we were able to get like 50 or 60 of them in a matter of hours. And the great thing about this is these were advocates that we didn't have to screen. right? We've already screened them. They've been a part of the program. We know the things that they've done, right? We know their participation. So that's been incredibly successful for us. So what I'd like to do is turn to probably the biggest success we've had to date. And I know some of you have done ebooks and the like with your customers. But for us, this was huge because this ebook that came out is actually a couple weeks ago. It's an ITSM best practices ebook. Was written entirely by our advocates. No one from HP wrote one single line of content other than the formatting and like for our brand, but they wrote it all. And in this ebook, there's no mention of our products, nothing about what our products do or anything like that. What it is a set of best practices that they're experts in. And for us, and our marketing arm, this is huge. Even though we don't talk about our products, it has a lot more weight than a product brochure might have. But more importantly, what this is a huge piece of content for the customer. It's extremely valuable for them, even if it's a little blurb that they put in the ebook, because you think about how that can help them in their career, in any kind of advancement. They're an author on an ebook that's out there in the public. It's extremely valuable to them. And that's a key message here is what are you doing to make your advocate successful, not just making yourself successful. So what I'd like to do in the time I've got left, which is a couple minutes, walk through quickly some of the things that we learned, some of our best practices, and we'll kind of go through these quick because we don't have a lot of time. So the first is try to have in your program fresh, fun, and engaging content. And for us, the key word that we learned in this experience was having fun content. And it's interesting because in the space we play in, we didn't think that fun content would be that valuable to our customers. In fact, that was the most valuable content because what they told us was, we're in IT, we're dealing with help desk and all these systems day in and day out. We want a stress break. We want to unplug and go do something that's completely disconnected from our day-to-day. And they found our hub as that stress relief. And oh, by the way, when they went and did something silly or fun, like some puzzle, they also did 2 or 3 other things that we wanted them to do. So it was an incentive model that actually worked that we didn't expect for this particular kind of an audience. So that's the first tip I would say. Make it as fun as you can. Get them in, like with The Walking Dead, and then give them more of what you want them to do. The second thing is actually around gamification. So we were hesitant about how gamification could work for us, and I'll say the result we found. This whole notion of rewards, it doesn't work for the majority of people. In fact, I think only like 8% of our customers actually redeem points for rewards. The majority don't, and that's because they're not really motivated by rewards. What they are motivated by, at least for our customer base, they're motivated to win. They're motivated to compete. They're motivated to be higher up in the leaderboard. So what we've done is, at any given time, we always have 2 or 3 contests that are active, and it could be a really silly contest like, vote on who's going to win the Super Bowl, or something else we want them to do where they're competing, and their only motivation is they want to win. They want to be on the top. We give them points for that, but that's not really the end goal. The end goal is we bring them in because of that competition or those contests, and they do other things that will help us out. The other piece, or best practice I will say is, and I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, definitely start small. Don't try to bring in hundreds or thousands of customers into your program. Pick 25 or 50, learn from that experience, and then grow it from there. Because we definitely learned a lot when we started in our hub, and we made modifications and we sort of grew from that. And as you can see, our numbers kind of speak for themselves. So definitely follow that advice if you're just getting started in a program like this. And then the other piece of advice I'll give you, this was another surprise for us. We came into the program with the belief that we knew who our biggest advocates were. We were looking at our big customers, those that were giving us lots of money, and said, well, those have to be the best advocates. What we found actually was that was far from the case. We found many of our biggest advocates in customers, we never even spoke to. Even customers that were more critical of us, but they were critical because they supported what we believed in, and they were stronger advocates for us than we had ever thought. So the key thing here that I would say is be open. be open to who an advocate could be for you, because you would be surprised where you might find them sort of in the bark of a tree, as this picture is showing here. And then the last thing I will say before I close is, and it's something that's somewhat obvious, when you're thinking about a program, you can put it together, you can build it, and those advocates or those customers will probably come and participate, but they might not stay. And the reason being is you have to continue to support it, to be engaged with those customers, right? So this requires effort, it requires resources. Make sure you have those people in place. And if you can't do it yourself, find an agency that can help. This has really been an important learning for us as it relates to getting our hub going and keeping it active. So let me close with this last slide, and then I will be done. The most important thing I want you to take from this, which is really important, is focus on what matters most to your advocates, right? Not what matters most to you. Your objectives are important, and that's how we started the talk. But what's more important is how do you translate those objectives into things that the customers and other advocates you have, the things that they value. So at the end of the day, this is not about awakening the zombies in your customers because they're not doing what you want. In some respects, it's about awakening the zombie in each of you and thinking about how do we turn this around so that we're actually their servants and not the other way around. And if you can do that, you'll get to a point where they are participating in your program not because they have to, because you're forcing them to, but because you want to. So with that, I will close with my email and all that other good stuff. And if you have questions, you can find me after. So sorry to have you.